Hello everybody, it is Tom and welcome to another video. Hooray. So today we're going to be, oh my gosh, what's my hair doing? So today we're going to be doing something a little different. I say that a lot, don't I? A video topic that I mentioned before, which is namely, we are going to be talking about graphic novels, comics, things like that. So most of us here are fans of Heartstopper, and the truth is I used to read a lot of comics. I used to read a lot of like manga and webcomics and things like that, but I kind of fell out of the habit. So after Heartstopper, I started reading more comics and actively seeking out queer comics in particular. So I wanted to share a few of the ones that I read regularly or have read. So let's get started. So we're going to go through some comics. We're going to talk about 2 comics that I have in my possession physically, and some that are available online, some that are free, some that are not, and that's what we're going to do. So let's do it. Now, first of all, I would say one of the comics that I've read this before Heartstopper, so a friend of mine recommended it to me, and it is now published in a book, and that is Magical Boy. So if you are not familiar with Magical Boy, you can still read the first few chapters on Tapas, and you can also purchase this beautiful like full color, this full color volume from your local bookseller, perhaps, or from your online book retailer. But yeah, this definitely one of my favorite stories. The premise is pretty cool. So the main character's name is Max, and Max is a trans guy. And when we start the story, Max is out to no one except his best friend. And Max still has long hair and, like, hasn't done anything to kind of affirm his gender physically as of yet. But he gets a haircut, he gets some new clothes with the support of his best friend, and he comes out to his parents. And his parents kind of, his mom in particular, like his dad, Max's dad is the coolest. Max's dad is great. Like he and Mr. Julio Spring would have a lot to talk about in terms of being just awesome, supportive dads. But like Max's mom is shocked. She's like, well, you can't be a boy because I've kept this from you, but the truth is you are the next in a long line of magical girls. Yeah, so it turns out that Max's mom back in the day was a magical girl. So think Sailor Moon, like, transformation and sparkles and ridiculous costume and fighting evil by moonlight and all that. And Max is the next in line. So his mom wants him to start training and like, oh, forget about this boy stuff because you can't be a magical girl if you're a boy. But yeah, so the story is just delightful. The art is great. The characters are wonderful. There's queerness everywhere. There's some definite dysphoria because what happens at first, so a little bit of a dysphoria warning, but what happens at first is the first time that Max transforms, which is like, it's funny but also terrible. So he ends up like, I don't know if you can see this very well, but he ends up transforming into this frilly dress and is just saying, this is so unnecessary. Yeah, but as the story goes on, like the transformations, the clothing that he transforms into slowly changes to become more of what he's comfortable with. And it just, like, it's great seeing his journey and kind of the things that he has to deal with as a trans guy. And, his mom coming to terms with his identity, and just, it's a wonderful series. There's only 2 books, but yeah. So highly recommend Magic Boy if you want to read something about a cool trans guy, which who turns into a magical boy. Yes, okay. All right, so the next one, which I have physically in my possession, is another boy sort of thing, which is The Witch Boy. Ooh. Yeah, so it's The Witch Boy by Molly Knox Ostertag. I might be pronouncing their name incorrectly. But yeah, so this is a series and has several volumes. And it's interesting. It's not overtly queer, but it's also very queer. It deals with younger kids, for one thing. I want to say they're like 12 or 13, maybe. It's been a long time since I've read it. But yeah, so there are hints of a queer relationship among the main characters as we go along, but mostly it's about the expectations that we put on people because of their gender and how wrong that is. So, and the author is queer and is married to the frontrunner of She-Ra on Netflix, which is an amazing show if you haven't watched it. Yeah, so this series really really good. Yeah, it's about a boy who belongs to a family of witches and I can't remember what I want to say. Maybe they call them warlocks, the guys in this, but essentially like gender segregated magical powers, kind of similar to Kind of similar to Cemetery Boys, where like, oh, the girls in the family do this kind of magic, and the boys in the family do this kind of magic. But the main character, whose name I totally remember, Aster. Yeah. I could have just read the back of the book. Yeah, so everyone in Aster's family is born with magic. Boys grow up to be shapeshifters. Girls into witches. No exceptions. Yeah, but Aster, shapeshifting just does not come naturally to him, but the witch power does. But his family is like, no, you may not do the witch power. So he's like secretly trying to learn the witch power, and he makes some friends from people outside the family, and there's some dark stuff going on, and it's just a really good story. Lots of great relationships and an excellent commentary on, I guess, toxic masculinity and just gender, how we needlessly segregate people into categories based on their gender. So, highly recommend. All right, so this concludes the Nya 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 Boy portion of our program. So now we're going to move on to these are the Webtoon ones. So the next comic that I would really like to recommend, and this one I have talked about on Twitter a lot. I always post when it updates because I think it's a fantastic comic. This is Far Off by Lennon Rook. And yeah, so basically, I really love this one. So the premise is you have two soldiers. Okay, there's Fen and Tobias, and they are stationed at this border wall. So this ancient border wall between two countries who are at war. And no one else is around. It's just the two of them with this wall between them. But one night, a storm blasts a hole in the wall, and suddenly the two of them are face to face. So this is a queer love story. So it's moving in that direction. It's still it's not finished. It's still going. But essentially, it's about how these two people, Fen and Tobias, come to find companionship in each other, and maybe more. There's definitely going to be more. Yeah, but the characterization is fantastic. The art is fantastic. I love both of the main characters, Fen and Tobias. It's a really funny comic. There are a lot of really funny moments. There's a cat who reminds me a lot of Darla. And yeah, it's a great comic. I really recommend it. So, and you can read it for free on Webtoons, and if you do, I highly recommend that you subscribe and then also rate it. Give it a high rating because it's gotten rating bombed by some jerks online. So be anti-jerk and go give it a good rating. So that is Far Off. So another one that I started reading not too long ago, and flew through the whole thing in a day, is called The Four of Them. This one takes place in a South American country. I want to say Argentina, but I could be wrong about that. But it's a South American country, and it's about this group of teens who, some of them are queer, some of them are not, but the characterization is A++. It's basically just, their school days and relationships, and the main character has some issues with his sister where, like, so the basic premise of how it begins is that we have our main character, whose name I have completely forgotten. Johnny. Okay, yeah. So Johnny is the main character. I mean, at the start, Johnny's the main character. As it goes along, it gives kind of equal time to most of the main characters. But so Johnny is the main character at the beginning. He and his sister have been like competing against each other their whole lives, and usually his sister wins. So Johnny has had this crush on this girl named Marielle for ages, and one day Johnny's sister comes home and says, "Mom, Dad, number one, I'm a lesbian, and number two, here's my girlfriend." And it's Marielle. It's the girl Johnny's had a crush on. So a lot of it is Johnny trying to come to terms with his the fact that his sister is now dating his crush. But there's a lot more to it than that. Like, there's so much depth to these characters, and Johnny's best friend identifies as gay, but throughout the course of the comic, Johnny's best friend, who identifies as gay, starts to realize that he has feelings for a girl, and thus actually identifies as bisexual. I've seen so many stories, obviously, of a straight person, a person who thought they were straight, realizing that they're bi. I have not seen many where a gay person realizes they're bi. So it's interesting to see that side of it. And initially, when I first saw that, I was like, I don't want the gay character end up with a girl. But that's dumb, for one thing. And also, spoiler alert, like, the girl that he has feelings for seems to be Arrow Ace. So she's not up for a relationship regardless. And he's not really interested in a relationship with her either. He's just realizing that he has feelings for her and coming to terms with that fact and what that means for his identity. So it's really interesting. Like, I think it's a very good comic. It has a lot of good stuff. It's written by someone whose native language is not English, so, sometimes things are phrased a little bit unnaturally in English, but it did not detract from my enjoyment of the comic in any way, and I think it's a really cool comic. So, yeah, worth checking out if you're in the mood for that kind of, like, slice of life, high school stuff with a good amount of queerness and some good characters. So, all right, now the last one I'm going to talk about is one that I already mentioned on the Queer YA Book Extravaganza video, but it is Check Please. As I said in the last one, it is a really good series of 2 volumes about a former figure skater who joins the men's hockey team at his college, also has a baking vlog, and ends up falling in love with the captain of the team, who is a legacy hockey player with something to prove. If you like Nick and Charlie's relationship, you will adore Jack and Biddy's relationship in this comic. In the second one in particular. In the first one, they're just kind of figuring out that they like each other and spending more and more time together and stuff like that. But the second book, they're just solid. Like, they're in a relationship. They're figuring out how to tell people and, coming out and what that means for them and stuff like that. But really, really good series. I enjoyed it so much, and we'll probably be rereading it because it's that good. So, all right. So now comes the time where I ask you, what queer comics do you like, or what queer comics do you recommend? Have you read any of the ones that I've mentioned? And if so, do you like them too? And have you gone and given Far Off a good rating yet? Because you should. Okay, and now, for those of you who watched the last video, you are aware that I have a Patreon now. So if you join the Patreon, you can get early access to videos, and depending on your tier, you can get access to other cool stuff as well. So definitely go check it out. And if you are in the Nick Nelson tier, you also get a shout out in this video. So I am hereby offering a shout out to our Nick Nelson members, Book Nerd Charlie, Kelly Walker, and Anonymous. Secret identity. So thank you guys so much for being Nick Nelsons, for being golden retrievers and wonderful human beings. And thank you to everyone, whether you're giving $1 or $20 or nothing at all, and you're just watching this video and liking and commenting and whatever. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you guys so much. And thank you as always for everyone who has donated to my top surgery fundraiser. And if you're interested in donating, that link will be in the description below. So, yes. Okay, well, that's all for this video. I hope you guys are doing well. And there will be more videos coming in the future as I find time to do them. So, yes, look forward to that. All right, goodbye.